just nice that Naomi just letting me play with one of her cars.
That is very nice of her to share. You girls having fun out here in the morning sun?
Yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the homestead. Before I get to our video content for the day, I wanted to just say a big thank you to everyone who commented under last week's video. It was so encouraging to me, and I feel inspired to keep making videos. So thank you to all of you who took the time to leave your just really encouraging comments. I appreciate it so much. So today I thought it'd be fun to share the two main ways that we fertilize all of our garden spaces for free. The first way is by using Comfrey. If you've been watching our channel for a while now, you probably know we love Comfrey. We've talked about Comfrey many times in the past, and honestly, as far as using it for fertilizer, I've kind of had mixed feelings about it. And the reason is because in the past, in order to make Comfrey tea, I've just used 5-gallon buckets. And by Comfrey tea, I just mean you put Comfrey and water together, you let it sit for about a week, and then you strain it and use that liquid diluted with water to fertilize your plants. So that was always a really stinky, messy job for me, having to dump the tea out of the 5-gallon buckets through some kind of straining mechanism into my watering pitcher. It just was so messy. I'd get it all over my hands, often on my clothes, and it just stunk so bad. So even though I wanted to fertilize every week with it, it was usually more like every other week or maybe even once a month. And so I never was really convinced of the benefit of using it. But this year my loving husband put together a Comfrey tea barrel for me. It's a 55-gallon water barrel, and it was given to us actually brand new, so it came with a spigot which my husband installed. My husband Kip did put some type of metal screening down in front of the spigot inside the barrel to make sure the comfrey particles don't get in and clog the spigot. We're not real sure if that's really necessary because the comfrey plants tend to float up at the top of the barrel. So down where the spigot is, the liquid is pretty clear. So that would be up to you whether you want to have that extra precaution in place to make sure that the spigot stays clear. I'm not sure how long that spigot's gonna last, but let me tell you, this system is a game changer for Comfrey tea. I actually enjoy fertilizing with Comfrey tea now using this system. I just use I think it's a 3-gallon watering pitcher. I fill it from our water catchment tank in our greenhouse, which doesn't fill it full because I can't quite get the pitcher all the way under. So it ends up filling my water pitcher about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way full of water. And then I just take it over to the nice little Comfrey tea barrel that my husband set up, and it's up on blocks. And so I can fit my watering pitcher under there perfectly, turn on the spigot, and I never have to touch the liquid at all. I just fill up my watering pitcher the rest of the way with the Comfrey tea, and off I go. So if you're not familiar with Comfrey tea, Comfrey is actually a dynamic accumulator, which means it mines minerals from down deep in the earth. So it is packed full of nutrition. And when you mix it with water and let it sit for about a week or more, depending on how hot it is, it makes this super nutritious tea for your plants. In the past, I've used it mostly for tomatoes and peppers, but this year I'm also experimenting with putting it on our squash and melons and cucumbers. It's also great for any potted plants that need an extra boost. I'm competing with Mr. Turkey Man today on this video. He's being quite noisy back there. So my current system has been to fertilize every Monday, and then usually every Friday we add back in more Comfrey and more water to keep it topped off. And so it's just going to be a continuous system all through the summer. Some people like to really chop up their Comfrey before they put it in there, but we don't usually do that. We just stick it in there and shove it under the water, and it breaks down just fine doing it that way. And this is our first time doing a continuous system like this big, and so we may have to, partway through the summer, use something to kind of pull out some of the debris so it doesn't get too full of decomposing Comfrey leaves. So it's just kind of experimental in that way at this point, but it's a very simple system. Super easy, anyone can do it. I do recommend using gloves when you're handling Comfrey though, because it can be pretty pokey. Stinging nettle is another thing that you can add to this liquid fertilizer, so if you have stinging nettle, definitely add that. And I'm sure there's lots of other weeds that could be added to this. You just want to make sure you don't get weed seed into that barrel, because the last thing you want is to be fertilizing with a bunch of weed seed. So now that I've been able to use the Comfrey fertilizer weekly for about a month straight, I'm really starting to see the benefits, especially on our summer squash. I don't think we've ever had summer squash quite this early, and the plants are looking super healthy. So we also use Comfrey as feed for our animals. It's a great supplement for, especially for our geese and our cows. We do give it to all the other birds as well. The ducks do like it pretty well. Oh my goodness, there's a beautiful bird. I'm gonna see if I can show it to you guys. Just got distracted by that little guy over there on the echinacea. Do you see? It's so pretty. It's a little yellow bird. Not sure what kind that is. If you know what kind of bird that is, please leave a comment below. So now that we have this new Comfrey tea system set up and it makes it so easy to use, I am all the more thankful for this free resource that we have. When we first started our homestead, we put Comfrey plants under all of our fruit trees, and since then that's been our process. Whenever we plant a new fruit tree, we put a little Comfrey plant below it, and it becomes a huge Comfrey plant eventually. I do want to recommend, if you are just getting started with Comfrey, make sure you get Russian Comfrey. It does not self-seed. I do have one true Comfrey plant in the garden, and I have to be so careful to always chop it down and not let it go to seed, because otherwise we will just have tons of Comfrey spreading throughout our garden like crazy. And one more thing about Comfrey, it's actually got a really pretty little purple bell bloom that comes on it, and the bumblebees love it. So it's a really good pollinator plant in the garden. Just a super fantastic plant to have.
I'm just gonna get some Comfrey here for the geese.
Does that bother you using your bare hands?
Not too much.
Not too much? Yeah. Sometimes I do it without gloves if I'm in a hurry, but I definitely prefer to have gloves on working with the Comfrey.
Yeah, it is a little spiky and itchy.
Yep.
Comfrey is pretty incredible because you can cut it all the way down just a few inches from the ground and it'll grow right back.
Yeah, and so with just one plant, we'll cut it back, what, 5 or 6 times throughout the season, throughout the summertime, and it just keeps on giving. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, and Comfrey thrives in moisture and grows really fast and it has lots of water.
Yeah, in the springtime it just goes bonkers because of all our spring rains. But then in the heat of summer, if we don't water it as much, it kind of
slows down.
Slows down, yep. And it does really well in shade or full sun, huh? Either one. It's not picky. Oh, here they come. They heard the call from all the way at the pond. Over here, sillies. Sometimes geese are a little silly. It takes them a while to figure out where the good stuff is. And then one of them finds it, and they all go, oh, there it is. Look at this lazy dog. Are you having a good nap, Daisy girl? The dogs love the hay. You're a good girl. Yes, you are. You're a good girl, Daisy girl.
Got a new toy.
Yeah, we've got a new sound in the house.
Yep.
Really fun. So now we've got 2 on the violin and 1 on the cello. Pretty soon you guys can be a trio.
Hopefully.
You having fun on it?
Yep.
We are having another farm to table lunch today. You ready to eat, Biddle?
Yeah.
Angel eggs, some boiled new potatoes. These are the really tiny ones. Thought it'd be fun to just boil those. And some summer squash.
Looks good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy. Enjoy.
I will.
How is it, Esther Pie?
Great. Potatoes, please.
Finish everything on your plate first, okay?
Okay.
So now Josh is out here to get some comfrey for the cows. It's interesting, there's a new growth right in the center and then all the old growth just laying down on the ground. Here comes Rowan. He knows what's coming. Hey, big boy. Ready for a treat? You ready for some comfrey? Hi. Hey. You having a good day? Except for the flies, huh? Pesky flies. You loving that stuff, boy? Good stuff, huh? You sure are a noisy eater.
I'm gonna do a comfrey plant for Rowan. Let the other cows come since I'll do too.
Yeah.
Found some odorous house ants here.
Yeah. They're swarming. There they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Wow. We disrupted their home. You think they'll be okay, Josh?
Oh yeah, they'll be fine.
See you later, boy. Enjoy your snack.
There we go. Here we are, Rowan.
These bumblebees all over the lamb's ear. Got some barn swallow babies that are learning how to fly here and getting lessons from the parents. There were 4. There's 2 left in the nest. The other 2 flew away already. These 2 are taking their sweet time. I guess they like being in a comfy nest.
It's our first cabbage we grow.
It's not the first, but I think this is the best cabbage we've grown to date. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
So I did use our comfrey tea 2 or 3 times on the cabbage, which I've never done before. I don't know if that's the reason the cabbage is doing so much better this year or not, but we're getting some really nice cabbage this year, which is a huge blessing. I am looking forward to making some homemade sauerkraut. All right, the second way we fertilize our gardens for free is with compost. It may sound super simple, but we do a no-dig method here on the homestead, and from the very beginning we've tried our best to add a little bit of compost to our beds every year, and that just adds a nice boost to all of our grow beds, keeps the soil healthy, and hopefully then keeps our plants healthy. I recommend, if you don't have your own animals, finding friends locally, neighbors who have animals that wouldn't mind sharing some of their compost with you. We've gotten a lot of free composted horse manure from a friend who actually has a tractor, which makes it super easy. She can just load it into our trailer, and that saves them the labor a lot. One year a friend let us clean out his goat barn. I'm pretty sure that was the best garden we've ever had. The goat manure was amazing for the garden. For those of you who don't know, goat manure can actually be put on the garden direct. Similar to rabbit manure. It's not a hot manure, so it won't kill your plants. However, I do want to caution you, if you get goat manure and it's saturated with goat urine, you might not want to put it directly on the garden. The load that we recently got was saturated with goat urine, and it would have probably burned our plants if we just put it directly on. So we ended up mixing it with some sawdust, letting it sit and get some rain a few times, and then we were able to put it on the garden, and it seems to be doing great. As usual, Abby's come to join me for the end of the video here. Oh, so as far as compost goes for us, we do have cows. We typically, through the winter, have our breeding bull Rowan, 2 milk cows, and we'll often have their 2 calves as well. And if you have experience with cows, you know that they produce a ton of manure. So in the past, we've just used temporary pallet bins that we've made to put some of that hay and manure in through the winter time, but we've also utilized the chicken yards. We put a lot of that into the chicken yards, hoping that our chickens would scratch through all of it, get the weed seeds out of it, and compost it down. But I'm not sure if we're going to continue to do that because I actually tested the soil from the chicken yards last year. In the fall, I put down a whole layer of compost from the chicken yards, and this spring those beds were completely filled with weeds. And so I don't think that method's going to work for us. So in the future, our plan is to build some large bins that we can put the cow manure and scrap hay into through the winter time, and hopefully those bins will keep it confined in such a way that it can get hot and kill the weed seeds. So in the past, we've had to bring in a lot of compost from friends and neighbors, and that's been a huge blessing. But our big picture goal is to be able to produce enough compost, mostly using our cows and their manure through the winter time, to be enough to put an inch or two layer on all of our garden beds every year. So those are the free fertilizer resources that we've used and we will continue to use in the future. We have also put money into fertilizer in the past, and honestly, I'm not really sure if it was worth the cost. We've used things like azomite, your regular organic fertilizer mixes. The one that we have spent money on that we may continue to spend money on in the future is actually kelp. And we have used kelp in the past for our animals. So it's kind of a dual purpose. If we buy it for the animals, then sometimes I'll put it on the garden here and there as well. That's where we're at with garden fertilizers at this point. If you have any ideas for inexpensive or even free fertilizer for the garden, please share it in the comments below. Before we go, Esther Pie has a thank you to give.
Thank you to the person who got me these pants.
Yeah, those will be good for your riding lessons, huh?
And these beautiful shirts.
Oh, look at that. So pretty. And that's one of your favorite colors, huh? Beautiful. And I actually have a thank you too. Thank you, Margie and family, for the shade cloth. I am hoping to be able to use this in the late summer, early fall for some of the brassicas and cold crops that don't like the hot weather during that time here in Missouri. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on the homestead again today. As always, thank you to our patrons who make these videos possible. We truly appreciate you guys. Until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours.
Heart.
And whatever you do,
Whole
do it
heart.
with your whole heart.
This is my garden. And this is Big O's garden. Nope.
See that, please?
Not yet. Can I just finish